Imagine you've just built, like, the world's best counter-drone radar. I mean, your engineering team spent 3 years perfecting the algorithms. It tracks targets with absolute mathematical precision.
Right.
It works perfectly. So you sell it to an allied nation in Europe. You are celebrating the deal of a lifetime. And then, I don't know, a few weeks later, your bank accounts are frozen, federal agents are knocking on your door, and you are staring down a very real threat of federal prison time. Why? Because you misunderstood a single paragraph of export law.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly happens way more often than people think. The engineering world, it thrives on definitive answers and predictable outcomes. You isolate a variable, test it, and you have your truth.
Sure.
But the moment you take that perfectly engineered technology and attempt to ship it across a border, you step out of the clean room of physics and into this regulatory landscape where literally nothing is binary anymore.
Yeah. And that terrifying transition is exactly who we are talking to today. So if you are a defense tech founder, an electronic warfare engineer, or, a compliance officer, this deep dive is entirely for you because you are operating in an exploding sector right now. The global demand for counter-uncrewed aerial systems, or C-UAS, is absolutely off the charts.
Oh, totally.
Every military, every airport, every major infrastructure hub wants hardware and software that can detect, track, disable, or destroy hostile drones.
They do, but assuming your technology is just a generic commercial product simply because it, say, blocks civilian GPS frequencies, that is a fatal error.
Right.
Bypassing the State Department to ship military-grade electronic warfare gear on standard commercial channels, that isn't just some administrative oops. We're talking about massive financial penalties that can bankrupt the company, the complete revocation of your export privileges, and, like you said, actual criminal charges.
Which is wild. So our mission today is to strip away the legal fluff and build a clear operational roadmap. We are charting the incredibly complex, often really frustrating boundary between the State Department's ITAR regulations, specifically the munitions list, and the Commerce Department's EAR regulations, focusing on the 600 series.
Exactly.
And to do this, we're pulling insights from a pretty dense stack of sources. We've got sections of the Code of Federal Regulations, commodity jurisdiction guidelines, and a comprehensive database of current military tech classifications.
Yeah, and look, these sources are dense, but they represent the fundamental architecture of your business if you're in the defense tech space. Understanding this isn't just for the lawyers. I mean, it has to be baked into your engineering process from day one.
Okay, so let's unpack this foundational architecture. We've got two main regulatory buckets that a founder might fall into. Let's start with the heavy hitter, the one that keeps CEOs awake at night, ITAR.
Right, so the International Traffic in Arms Regulations, or ITAR, is the absolute ceiling of U.S. extra control. It's managed by the Directorate of Defense Trade Controls, the DDTC, under the State Department.
Okay.
And ITAR governs the United States munitions list, the USML, which is broken down into 21 different categories of defense articles. We're talking about everything from basic firearms in Category 1 to military electronics in Category XI, all the way up to spacecraft. If your technology lands on this list, you're dealing with the strictest export controls the U.S. government has to offer.
And when it comes to the counter-UAS boom we're seeing, that equipment almost always defaults to this munitions list, doesn't it?
It does. There are 3 main USML categories you need to know inside and out. First is Category AA1, which covers active jammers and microwave systems.
Okay, so active systems.
Yeah, if your device fires directed RF energy, high-power microwaves, or spoofing signals to break a drone's link, you are making an electronic warfare system. Under AFA1, active countermeasure equipment is automatically an ITAR defense article.
Even if I'm just jamming, like, civilian Wi-Fi.
Exactly. It does not matter if you jam civilian Wi-Fi or military bands. Active jamming puts you in ITAR.
Wow. Okay, what about passive tech then?
That brings us to Category X3, which is tactical radar and tracking. If your device is purely passive, meaning it only listens for drone RF signals or tracks targets with thermal cameras, but that software or hardware is specially designed to identify military targets or feed data into defense networks. It falls under X3.
Got it. And what if we're actually physically knocking the drone out of the sky?
Right, the hard kill interceptors. If your platform fires a net, launches a projectile, or uses a kamikaze drone to physically crash into a threat, you leave basic electronics completely behind. Your platform is now classified alongside guided missiles under Category 4th, or military aircraft under Category VIII.
So for any of these active jammers, military trackers, or hard kill interceptors, exporting them requires an approved Form DSP-5 export license, right? Or a technical assistance agreement from the DDTC before you can even ship or email files.
Spot on. You have to have that approval.
Okay, so on the flip side of ITAR, we have the Commerce Department's regulations. Is C-UAS tech ever controlled under the Commerce Department?
Yes, but the window is extremely small.
Oh.
The Export Administration Regulations, the ER, uses the Commerce Control List, the CCL. Historically, the Commerce List was meant for purely commercial or dual-use items.
Right. Things with a civilian application that could also be used by a military.
Exactly. So if you build a purely passive detection sensor for civilian airport safety, no active jammers, no weapons, no military threat databases, it might fall under the CCL. For example, ECCN 5A001.F controls commercial radio direction finding equipment.
Okay.
And ECCN 6A008 controlled commercial radar units that operate below military power limits.
So it is possible to stay out of ITAR. But here's where it gets really interesting, because the sources point out that this binary system weapons over here, commercial stuff over there, got a massive overhaul, right, with the Export Control Reform Act.
Yeah, the government realized the munitions list was getting too bloated. We had things on the ITAR list that frankly didn't need maximum security lockdown anymore. It was hurting U.S. companies globally. So they moved certain items to the Commerce Control List into a specific category called the 600 series.
The 600 series.
Right, named because they have a 6/4 as the third digit in their ECCN, like 3A611 or 9A610, which control lower-level military electronics or aerospace parts.
So if ITAR is the maximum security prison of export controls, and the standard commerce list is the open commercial world, this 600 series is basically a halfway house for technology. Like, it's no longer locked down in max security, but it is definitely not roaming free in the purely commercial market. You still have strict rules.
That halfway house analogy captures the tension perfectly. These are former munitions, they've been downgraded slightly, but they still carry heavy restrictions. For example, ERI 0606 covers ground vehicles that transition from the USML, like dual-use logistics robotics.
Right.
Contrast that with USML Categories XI, which covers heavy combat armed ground vehicles.
Yeah.
One is an unarmed supply robot, the halfway house. The other is a tank maximum security.
So what does this actually mean for an engineering team? Let's bring this back to the counter-drone boom. Modern tech is all about integration, right? You take off-the-shelf commercial hardware, you write custom software, maybe add a specialized sensor. What happens when you try to combine these two regulatory worlds?
That integration is where companies walk right into a massive legal trap. It's known as the see-through rule, based on ITAR section 120.6. The core concept is ruthless. If a U.S. company takes a controlled part from the munitions list and embeds it into a completely commercial, non-ITAR system, the entire integrated system becomes subject to ITAR.
Wait, I need to push back on this because it sounds incredibly broad. Let's say I'm building a completely commercial drone to inspect civilian bridges. Plastic frame, standard rotors. If I bolt one tiny restricted military screw onto my commercial drone, the whole thing is suddenly infected by ITAR.
Well, we need to define restricted. The government doesn't care about generic hardware. ITAR applies to components specifically designed for military use. A generic screw isn't specifically designed for a weapon.
Okay, that makes sense.
But if you take a controlled component, let's go back to the golden rule of payload modification. Imagine you have that clean, dual-use passive radar we talked about, classified under ECCN 6A008.
The commercial one.
Right, and a foreign buyer loves it. But they ask you to integrate an active GPS jammer module into the frame.
Oh.
The very second you bolt that active jammer onto your commercial radar, the entire integrated system gets pulled onto the USML under Category XI. Once a defense article, always a defense article.
So ITAR controls just basically see right through the commercial shell down to that controlled component.
Yes, you cannot use a commercial end user to hide or declassify an active military countermeasure payload. The most restrictive component dictates the rules.
The infection spreads. I mean, it really emphasizes how fragile a commercial classification is. And to understand just how granular this gets, let's look at how the government classifies real-world drones. The sources have this great military tech database.
Oh, the way they classify different UAVs is a masterclass in regulatory nuance. Let's look at the MQ-9 Reaper. It's a $30 million drone. It is controlled under USML Category XI because it's a specially designed armed UAV.
Armed being the key word.
Exactly. The capacity to carry weapons puts it in a highly restricted bucket.
Now, compare that to the RQ-4 Global Hawk. The Global Hawk is valued at around $130 million. It's massively more sophisticated, flies way higher. But it falls under a totally different subcategory.
Because despite being vastly more expensive, it's an unarmed military UAV used for ISR intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. It falls under Category 8, still highly restricted, obviously, but the architecture cares deeply about the distinction between armed and unarmed.
Which brings us to my absolute favorite comparison in the sources. Contrast both of those massive drones with the Switchblade 300 and 600.
Right.
The 300 is valued at around $6,000. It's a tiny, tube-launched vehicle with a camera that flies around before detonating. To a layperson, it looks exactly like a drone. But according to the regulations, it's not a UAV at all.
From a legal perspective, the Switchblades aren't UAVs. They fall under USML Category XI as loitering munitions, guided missiles, or strike weapons.
I just think that's brilliant. From an engineering standpoint, it uses drone tech, but from a regulatory standpoint, it's not a flying camera, it's a smart bullet.
A smart bullet, yeah. And this ties into the MT, or missile technology threshold. If you build an unmanned vehicle capable of delivering a 500-kilogram payload to a range of at least 300 kilometers, you trigger strict MT reasons for control.
Because that capability represents delivering weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, exactly. The government regulates the capability, not just your intent to deliver cargo.
Okay, so let's zoom out to the reality for a defense tech startup today. Millions of dollars on the line, severe criminal penalties hanging over your head. How does a company protect itself when their tech sits in a gray area? The sources gave us this really clear 4-step compliance checklist for handling C-UAS inquiries.
Yeah, that checklist is a lifesaver. Step 1 is follow the order of review. You always check ITAR USML Categories XI, 4, and 8 before you even look at Commerce ECCNs.
Right. Assume maximum security first. What's step 2?
Step 2 is scrub your source code. You have to make sure your software repositories don't contain military threat signatures, because sharing that with a foreign national triggers a deemed export violation.
Okay, wait, we need to pause on deemed exports, because exporting isn't just loading a drone into a shipping container at a port.
Not at all. According to 22 CFR Section 120.17 and ER rules, releasing technical data, blueprints, or source code to a foreign national constitutes an export to their home country.
So if I'm an American engineer sitting in a coffee shop in Austin, Texas, and I open my laptop to show our counter-drone source code to my coworker who is a foreign national, I just exported that technology without any hardware ever leaving Texas.
Yes. Even if they are sitting right next to you inside the United States, that exchange is legally deemed an export. If they require access to technical data, they must sign an NDA with mandatory ITAR clauses, and you need a technology agreement approved by the government.
And just to be clear, getting that technology agreement doesn't automatically authorize shipping the physical hardware, does it?
No, absolutely not. The physical hardware still requires a separate DSP-5 license.
Wow. Okay, so that was step 2. What is step 3 on the checklist?
Step 3 is knowing your testing restrictions. Active RF jamming is strictly restricted in the US by the FCC. So if you want to run live jamming tests with foreign clients present, you require specialized experimental permits and ITAR foreign visitor clearances.
Makes sense. And the final step, step 4.
File a CJ request when unsure. If there is a shadow of a doubt about whether your tech is ITAR or EAR, companies must file a Commodity Jurisdiction Request Form DS-4076 via the DCCS portal. You include a supporting letter from the OEM, and you let the State Department draw the line.
I have to play devil's advocate for the Silicon Valley mindset here. Filing government forms like the DS-4076 takes time, it slows down launches. Can't a startup just self-classify to move fast and break things?
No. In this context, breaking things means massive fines and federal criminal charges. You cannot apply that philosophy when dealing with national security. The CJ process takes time, but is the only way to get absolute legal cover.
So correctly classifying your technology under ITAR or the EAR 600 series isn't just legal red tape, it is the fundamental architecture of a defense tech business.
It really is.
Before we wrap up, there's this fascinating nugget in the sources about the future of physical goods. It's about how the lines between digital data and physical weapons are blurring, specifically with additive manufacturing.
Oh, the 3D printing regulations. Yeah, they're forcing export control to evolve so rapidly.
Right, because under the ER, the software or technology for producing a firearm that is posted online in an electronic format, like an AMF file or G-code ready for a 3D printer or a CNC machine, is strictly controlled.
Because with an advanced 3D printer, that digital file is essentially the functional equivalent of the physical weapon. The code literally becomes the gun. So the government treats the blueprint as the final product.
Which leaves us with this thought to mull over. As defense technology becomes increasingly digital and heavily reliant on additive manufacturing, the greatest export compliance risk to your company might not be a physical shipping container sitting at a port. It might simply be an email attachment sent to the wrong inbox. The murky waters aren't just out in the ocean anymore, they are right there in your outbox.
That is a very sobering reality for founders to keep in mind.
Absolutely. Thanks for going on this deep dive with us. We'll catch you on the next one.